Hi, I'm Abby. I'm one of the hygienists at Brookhaven Family Dentistry, and today we're going to talk about kid appointments and what you can do before you bring your kids in and what we'll do here to keep them as easy breezy as possible. The number one most important thing that we can do first thing with a kid appointment is build trust. So often, if I have a really little kid that has a hard first appointment, maybe they're a little emotional, if we can build a little trust through that visit, the next time will be a lot easier, and then they're 6 months older. For little kids, we always start with just asking them to sit in the big kid chair. Sometimes that is a hard task to do. Maybe they want to sit with their adult. Maybe they just feel like that's a really big step. Often, at their littlest ages, if they are too scared to hop up in that big chair, I will ask them to sit in their adult's lap, whether that's mom or dad or whoever brings them to their appointment. And when they do that, they feel a lot more secure. But if they hop up in the chair on their own that first time, great, because then we're able to show them what that appointment will be like moving forward. I also always show them the air water, how we would spray water to rinse their teeth, or the doctor might spray air to check any spots, and then we show the big straw. Now the straw can feel really weird to some kids, so I always make sure that I turn it on, explain to them that it's going to make some noise when we turn it on, and then I let them feel it against their palm. That way, if they can feel that air a little bit, it helps prepare them for the way it's going to feel when they close down on it. If I have a really little kid that seems too nervous for the suction, then we'll take frequent breaks and I'll give them some water and let them sit up and go spit at the sink. It's important that we meet kids where they're at and give them alternatives if there are problems, like parts of the appointment that they have a hard time with. Let's say we have a kid that seems a little too intimidated by the spinny toothbrush. Well, that's an easy fix. They brush their teeth with a regular toothbrush at home, so as long as we are able to brush their teeth with a regular toothbrush and get a really good look, check everything with our tooth counter, and have the doctor do an exam at the end, then what's important is that we were able to get their teeth clean and not necessarily how we were able to get their teeth clean. I have found that older kids that come in with anxiety typically have multiple things about an appointment that bother them. So it's really important to sit down and communicate with them and find out what about the appointment they find really stressful. Sometimes it can just be something sensory that they haven't communicated before. Maybe they don't like the toothpaste. Maybe they don't like the way the toothbrush feels. Maybe they don't like the way the suction feels. And we can make compromises as long as we talk about what about it they don't like. Sometimes I've had kids that don't like closing on the suction. That's a great thing for me to know. We can always just poke it around or let them spit in the sink. If we make compromises over time as they grow up, it tends to be a lot easier to transition them into the regular things because they know that we're not going to do something that makes them uncomfortable or causes them pain, and we're building that trust. A great example of this is if a kid doesn't like any of our toothpaste flavors. I've had a couple of children who have some sensory issues and really prefer their toothpaste that they use at home. That is such an easy fix because all we need to do is talk to their adult and make sure that when they come in for their appointments, they're bringing their regular toothpaste from home, and we can do the whole cleaning with that. I try to incorporate as much humor into the appointment as I can. So sometimes that looks like me brushing and saying, "Oh my goodness, I think I see some princess teeth back there, maybe some Paw Patrol teeth. Oh my goodness, I definitely see Chase. What does Chase say?" And then we'll talk through appointments like that so I can distract them while we're brushing. And then sometimes we'll count their teeth while I'm brushing, and I'll say, "All right, we're going to do the bottom first." And I slowly brush while I go through 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10. And I say, "All right, we've got 10 teeth on the bottom. How many teeth do we think we have on the top?" And then we brush through and we count to 10, and we say, "All right, we've got 10 teeth on the bottom, 10 teeth on the top. That means we've got 20 teeth." And then when I go grab the dentist to do the exam, I'll introduce them, I'll bring them in, and I say, "All right, Dr. Andrew's going to come in, he's going to count your teeth, he's going to make sure I know how to count. Do you think I know how to count?" And then they typically giggle. So it's a great way to, put them more at ease, to work with humor, talk about things that they like, just keep them a little bit distracted. And that's a really great tactic, and it tends to work almost every time. One of the best parts of working in dentistry for me is getting to build those relationships with kids and help create that healthy relationship with the dentist and keep it nice and easy for them. I was terrified of the dentist growing up, and I do this now for a living, so there is definitely hope for all the kids that are super scared as kids when they come to the dentist. If we can build a little bit of trust, set expectations, and meet them where they're at, then we can really come a long way.